It's a state holiday. We've had 2 inches of snow. Excuse me, we had 1 inch of snow. Everything's been shut down for 2 days. So since I got a day off and this is now Saturday, I'm going to play in the garage a little bit. I have a lot of scrap metal and junk around here, and I think I'm going to work on an engine test stand. Let's see what we can build. There's scrap metal everywhere. So I'm going to try to build with what I have available. Well, here's what I have so far. Just a hodgepodge of metal. That basic part of that frame is off an old pressure washer. The rest of it is just scrap metal I have sitting around. So I'm going to try to build something, have a nice engine test stand, and play with the new wire feed welder. I have gas and stick welder, but I never had a wire feed, so that's my new toy. See if I can have a little fun with that. I'm moving along with the engine test stand. I went ahead and mounted an old 350 block on this cradle. I had a spare cradle down here that I bought from Summit. I was going to put an engine on there and free up an engine stand, but I decided to go ahead and just mount it on here as part of my engine test stand. So I've got it mounted on there. Now the frame came a little bit bent. I ran into some problems with that, so I had to fit that in a little bit better. And I've got it sitting on there now, and one thing I'm noticing is right here, the flywheel's not going to clear that plate. So I'm going to have to grind some right in there. Just a little bit on each side to clear the flywheel. And look it over here. So just a little bit of grinding is going to be required. That'll take care of that problem, and we'll just keep on working through and work out the little minor problems as we go. I'll mount a fuel tank, a battery, and I've got a radiator that I pulled out of the 67 Nova over here. This is a real radiator, not that junk aluminum stuff they make today. That's copper and brass. Problem is, there's only 2 rows, and I need something more than that for the Nova 383 to keep it going. So I went ahead and had it record, and I'm going to use that for my engine test stand. And then if I ever decide to sell the Nova someday or something, and somebody needs that original radiator, then I still have it. That's going on the test stand. Continue on. Okay, for mock-up purposes, I put a long water pump, small block Chevy water pump on here, and the fan with the fan clutch, so I kind of get an idea of where I want to locate my radiator. I want to make sure I get it back far enough that I get good airflow through there, but not have to worry about any clearance problems. Also, I was digging around in the shop, actually in the other building I have out there, found these old exhaust manifolds with an air injection reaction system in it. I'm guessing 68 maybe. So I'm going to plug all the holes in that, and then we'll use that for the exhaust system on the test stand. Save a few more bucks. Okay, I'm moving along with the engine test stand. I'm going to use this as an instrument panel right here. I have a bunch of junk that I've saved over the years under the shelf, electrical wise, switches and meters, I think, and who knows what else. So I'm going to dig through all this mess down here, see what I can find to put on the instrument panel. Also, looking around, I have part of that frame left from the pressure washer, and of course a lot of scrap metal down here, and some wheels. Some wheels right there's one, and I think there's some more buried back here. So I'm going to try to figure out some way of making another frame and mount my plasma cutter and the Hobart MIG welder. Alright, let's play in the man cave. Have some fun. This has been a pretty interesting archaeological dig for me. This is an old ignition box I got, I don't know, standard ignition parts, I think probably about 1965. Later I went into Air Force, painted Air Force gray, and over the years, just stuff it with odd and end electrical items. And I found some pretty cool stuff. Here's a transistor, 1961 480, I believe, if I recall. Out of all these years, yep, 1961 480. That was for very early ignition systems. Pontiac, 65, 66, 67 era. That was one of the items that was always kind of bad to fail. This is pretty cool here. Press to test light. F4 Phantom. Cannon plug out of a T38. Few odds and ends, switches and things. Got an old Ford relay right here. Starter relay. I'm going to use that probably as a master switch for the test engine. There's a voltmeter. Looks pretty cool. I'll probably utilize that. And a couple of gauges that came with the pig and a poke engine. And an old voltmeter off a test bench at some point in time in my life. A lot of other cool things. So, oh, here's one other thing. Part of a roll, what we called F4 tape. F4 Phantom. It's got the cellophane wrap on it. It was self-vulcanizing. It would only stick to itself. There's nothing sticky on here. You peel it off, wrap it around what you're trying to protect, and it self-vulcanizes. F4 Phantom tape. There's a lot of old stuff here. Shows you what a dinosaur I am. I mounted the radiator with hitch pins and it slides. And the reason I did that is I can pull the pins if I want to, grab a hold of the radiator here, slide it right out, get it out of the way, set it over to the side, and then if I want to change the camshaft or something I can. Go ahead and put the radiator back on, hitch pins in, and I'm ready to do the test stand again. Never can tell when you want to swap cams or play around with the engine on the stand and don't have to disassemble it or pull the engine out of the framework. What do you think? Dabbling back and forth, I went ahead and cut the panel holes for the panel for the engine test stand. I found an old vacuum gauge that I had from years ago in some hot rod of mine. Of course, the two instruments that came with the engine, unfortunately the idiot left the brackets and nuts off the back side. So instead of fabricating anything, I just silicone those in. And I've got a series of switches, electric fan switch, ignition switch, and momentary on-off start switch. So it's progressing along nicely. Let's keep working. Okay, moving along with my build on the plasma cutter and wire feed welder. I'm working on the stand. I've mounted some casters. Get off of that zoom, Jerry. I've mounted the casters, put in a plate on the bottom side here. That's going to hold the MIG welder. And the plate on the top side, I got to dress it off, but I'll put the plasma cutter on top. So that's the progress so far today on the stand for that. My argon seat carbon dioxide bottle has been on a hand truck and I would roll it around to wherever I need to go, but I've decided to add on this extension here. That'll hold my argon bottle. And I went ahead and put a couple arms on here with hooks. It's lying on the ground now with hooks so I can hang the cables for the plasma cutter and the MIG welder. Alright, the little MIG welder plasma cutter cart is ready to go. Freed up all my bench space over here. I had just about everything I needed in the shop. I think I bought a drill bit for this. Everything else I had is just stuff around the shop, including the half can of spray paint I had left to try to dress it up a little bit. It's not real pretty, but it's functional. The tank is a 60 cubic foot tank. I may drop down to a 40, but it's real stable. I can move the car around with it, it's no problem. She's riding on 6 casters, rolls around just as smooth as butter. I'm pretty happy with it. And I sure am happy to get the floor space, the bench space cleared up. And then I can just roll it up to the car whenever I'm ready, hook up a cord, and I'm ready to go. Check it out. Okay, I've had fun in the shop. Appreciate you guys being along. The engine test stand is just about complete too. I lack very little on it, so I'm probably going to let it sit. We'll move on to the Nova. I think I'm going to actually start on the 383 stroker my engine, because the camera lady's engine is still at the machine shop, and I don't expect that to be back anytime soon, judging from the number of cylinder heads, diesel heads, and blocks and things they have sitting in the floor. My stuff has to wait because they make the money on the heavy equipment. So we'll get started on an engine and put it on the test stand. Continue on the Nova. Appreciate you guys going along with us.